This is The Heart of the Story with Gary Mativier, inspiring stories of everyday people doing cool stuff, following their dreams, using their talents to help make the world a better place. People like Travis Mills.
Well, I had just finished a project in 2013, 52 short films in 52 weeks. And it's been a long time, and a lot of my current fans and followers don't really know about that project, but that was my first wild endeavor. And when that was done, I thought, well, what's next? What can I do that sounds even more absurd than this? And I thought 12 features in 12 months. However, they could all be done in a basement or a hotel room. So what's really challenging would be the Western with horses and guns and, all these locations and period detail.
The filmmaker who took on the ultimate challenge and is now using what he learned to help others. Travis Mills, a man on a mission, part of our Making Movies, Music, and More series. So when I walked away from a long career as a news guy to pursue other ways of telling stories, it was the story of Travis Mills that first captured my attention. I watched on Facebook as he worked on and released a series of films, 12 Westerns in 12 months. I watched the films and then, seeing this cool community online celebrating their hard work and then their success, I decided to go to my first film festival in Wilcox, Arizona, where I met some of them there. Now, months later, we talk with the man who decided not to wait for Hollywood to come calling, to bring his dream to life on the big screen and small screen. And he's helping others go after theirs as well. So I have to share with you as we get started, Travis. I just gave a little background on you, and I'll follow up with some more of that in a moment. But you'll like this because you travel with Tank a lot, your dog, right? And your dogs have always been such a big part of your life. So sometimes when I'm recording a podcast, I try to distract my two Goldens. Okay. So I filled up their bones, the hard bones, with some peanut butter and put them on the side, thinking that would take care of the whole situation. But now they're dragging them around the house and dropping them on the hardwood floor. So if you hear a thunk, that's my dogs.
Well, drinking water right next to us right now. So if you hear that, then that's him. Or if you hear him dragging his chain, that's him. So
there you go. Hey, so as you know, on this podcast, we talk about the heart of the story, what really drives people, inspires them to follow their dreams, and to see where life takes them. I first met you at the Wild Bunch Film Festival this year in Wilcox, and they were screening your films there, which this was my first ever experience like this at a film festival. And it was really cool to see you guys get up there and talk about your films and your passion for what you're doing and how you're doing it, and sharing that with some other filmmakers there was pretty incredible. Not to mention the fact that you got so many awards, I think they had to give them to you in a big bag because there wasn't enough time to give them all out to you because you had won so many. How many festival awards, if you keep track at all, or give me an estimated figure, have your films garnered so far?
I don't keep track. I think on IMDb, I don't know, it's somewhere in the 30s, 40s, 50s, something like that. But awards are not super important to me. It's certainly not the main reason. Sorry, Tank's making noise. It's certainly not the main reason that I make movies. Yeah. I do it for the work itself. It's nice to be recognized. I certainly, it's more important to me that the people that I work with be recognized than myself.
Yeah, no, I totally get you. And without sounding me-centric on this, I do remember getting my first Emmy. The biggest thing for me on that was that I got to stand up there on a stage and say, "Mom, this is for you. You've been following me, supporting me all these years. I love you. This is for you." 82-year-old woman watching via internet, with a glass of wine, hundreds of miles away. But it also told my employer too that, hey, this work is good. Leave this guy alone. Let him do what he does. I think the awards for you in particular, and in this business, kind of help you give the momentum for your next projects, as well as kind of keep you going, right? Keep pushing you a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard. It's always hard to say, unless it's an Emmy or a Grammy or an Oscar, how much the awards, really help you get the next job or push your career forward. It's mostly just an encouragement, and I just hope it makes people see it and it makes them watch the movies. That's the most important
Exactly.
part, is that they just watch the films.
Let's get into the films now. As a writer, director, actor, producer, and so many others, those are just the top four I can list. What got you started in the film industry? If you can remember a moment that made you think, "Oh, I got to do this. I want to do this."
I've been obsessed with movies since I was a little kid. So I've always been super interested in film, storytelling, coming up with stories. And I did it, in high school, making silly little movies. And then I did it in college at film school, which was a mixed experience, And then it was really after I'd kind of burned out after film school, about a year and a half later, when I just felt very hungry to work, and reached out to my film professor, Gus, who had retired, kind of become my mentor. Just said, give me a script, any script, I'll make it. I don't care whether I like it or not. I need to make another movie. And then after that, from like 2010 onwards, I really didn't stop. It was just nonstop working, creating. So I don't know. It's hard to point to a specific moment, but that's definitely one of the most important moments in my life and career, is just feeling that hunger and desire. And I think everybody goes through periods of productivity and then probably, slowing down and then a resurgence. And, I've been going at it for like 12 years and kind of probably in a phase right now where I'm trying to figure out what's the next movement, what's the next phase. But yeah, that's probably the moment that was the most important so far.
And something sparked you to, and I know by judging you already, just by the amount of times I've seen you and by following you on social media, that you like to challenge yourself, you like to hold yourself accountable. Something about the Western genre kicked out and grabbed you. What is it about that in particular, that genre?
Well, a few things. I think that Westerns, I saw with my movie Blood Country, which was one of my films that's been financially successful. I saw that you can make a Western without any name talent and make money on it, because there's not a huge audience for it, like there is maybe for superhero movies, but there is a dedicated audience for it. People who love Westerns mostly want to watch Westerns and will watch them regardless of who's in it. They are hungry for that content. On top of that, it's a genre that you can do a lot with. There's so much variety with it. You can do horror Westerns, musical Westerns, comedy Westerns, you can spin off in all kinds of directions with it. And it's also one where you can explore really interesting themes about justice, moral code. You can really do a lot about America in the Western genre without being on the nose with it. You can explore these themes that we're still wrestling with today in a historical context.
Well, and in that way, I see through your work, you're an historian that chooses to tell history or reveal history through characters and through characterizations. That's really cool to see.
Yeah, I try. I'm not a historical expert, certainly, but it's interesting to look back at our history, explore those times, but they always reflect what we're going through nowadays as well. I mean, that's why those movies are so relevant and why we hang on to them, whether it's Rio Bravo or The Searchers or whatever. These are themes that we continue to wrestle with over and over again in our everyday lives. So I think that's why those films are so relevant and will last forever.
So I want to talk about your ultimate challenge, which is to produce 12 Westerns in 12 months, or very similar to that. And one of them, by the way, I believe Texas Red. He just your actor in that one was a newer actor, just won a major award outside of that industry, but in the entertainment industry, which was fascinating to see. That movie, all your movies have something different to offer for everyone, and everyone has different parts and pieces, but that one really stuck out to me. That was the third of your movies that I saw, And in that, I saw magic happening, and it just really pulled me into your form of storytelling. What is it that made you decide, hey, let's see if we can make 12 westerns in 12 months?
Well, I had just finished a project in 2013, 52 short films in 52 weeks. And it's been a long time, and a lot of my, current fans and followers don't really know about that project, but that was my first wild endeavor. And when that was done, I thought, well, what's next? What can I do that sounds even more absurd than this? And I thought 12 features in 12 months. However, they could all be done in a basement or a hotel room. So what's really challenging would be the Western with horses and guns and, all these locations and period detail. And then just kind of fell in love with the concept and kind of kicked it around for a few years. And then in 2018, I said, I have to take this seriously. I'm not getting any younger. I'm going to do it in 2020. And of course, I picked the worst year ever for it. But it was a great challenge, and I'm so happy we did it. Everybody always asks me, are you going to do it again? And I'm like, are you crazy? I barely survived mentally and physically. And also, I'm just never interested in repeating myself. That's just not something that I want to do in my career.
Yeah. When as I watched you on that, I think towards the tail end of that, a lot of people that follow you could see that you're like, man, I'm getting tired, and who wouldn't be tired? And you were going straight from that to working on a bigger budget film in a different capacity. But you're taking all these lessons that you've learned through this, right? So you're like I am. I don't even like to drive the same way to a place and back. I'm like, let's do something new. You're taking a lot of things that you learned from that experience, right? And you're putting it forward and saying, okay, where do we go next?
Yeah, well, you have to. I mean, you can't just keep making the same mistakes, hopefully, in your creative work or in your personal life. We're all trying at least to improve upon ourselves and just do things better and better. And that's what I've tried to do. That's been kind of my whole work ethic and philosophy of work is don't maybe be a perfectionist. Do the best you can do. And some things are going to work out better than others. Learn from what you've done and then just keep pushing to the next step. And hopefully, I'm taking a little break from actually being on set with the idea of putting the lessons, like I said, thinking about what I've learned, also improving my writing so that hopefully the next time I make a film, it's even stronger than all the ones that I've made before.
Yeah. And one of the things that you're doing with that, you're taking that learning experience and you're sharing it with other people, which I think as a person that would do the same myself or still doing the same, by doing so, I learn more, right? So I can stop and focus and see, okay, what did I get out of this? And then share that with other people. So you're kind of doing a combo here. You're re-emphasizing it for yourself and you're teaching others through now your books and your online, your classes, which I think is incredible because there's so many people out there. And I'm sure you get these questions all the time, which is why you're doing this. How do you get started? How do you make a film? It's too big of a wall to try to get over. How do I get through it? So what made you decide, hey, I'm going to start sharing some of this with people out there?
Yeah, well, after doing all of this, you have a wealth of knowledge, at least about a certain aspect of filming, a certain way of making movies. I can't teach someone how to make movies for millions and millions of dollars, but I can teach them how to make their first film for 10,000 or 20,000, something like that. And I just thought, hey, I need to make a little bit of extra money here while I'm writing. And maybe there's an appetite for this. Let me try it. Let me see what's going to happen. Let me see if there's people out there that want to learn about this. And you put it out there, and then there's a handful of people that are interested. And then, the best part is, like I say, you make a few bucks in the process, but the best part is when, I do my acting class, and then a couple weeks later, an actress says that she used something that I taught her in that class on an ESPN commercial, and she hadn't used it she hadn't learned that in 2 or 3 years of taking other acting classes. Anytime I hear that there's a real breakthrough moment for someone, whether it's in the filmmaking class, the writing class, or the acting class, that's ultimately the reward And it's good to put all of these ideas out there, because otherwise, what's the use?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and as you know, there's some people. I lived in Los Angeles for 10 years, getting started in my early days. Went into journalism instead because I just found the industry to be in Hollywood something that wasn't a match for me. It just was not working out. The kinds of scripts I was seeing, I didn't want to do that kind of work. It didn't represent who I was. So I began a long career in TV news, which then that changed too. So now I'm back to go after my dreams. And what's cool about today, Travis, is that you can, like you said, you can take a little bit of money. You could go make your own film, or you can be a part of all these independent, these filmmakers out there that are doing some really nice work. There's some good work, and there's platforms now available. Not everything has to be shown on the big screen now.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting time to be a filmmaker, because there's so much opportunity and so many resources at hand. But there's always pros and cons to everything, because that means the door is also wide open. It's been blown off the hinges, and anyone and everyone is now your competitor, right? So there's a lot of content being put out there, and it's maybe harder to stand out nowadays, but it's also easier to get your work out there. And so that's really nice. It's nice that, like I said, a movie like Blood Country, or some of the 12 Westerns like Bastards Crossing and Texas Red, could be made for less than $50,000, get on Amazon or Tubi, and get seen by just thousands and thousands of people, and that's exposure that just wasn't possible outside of a studio release in the past.
And by doing so, not only are you showing elements of your work out there, but you're giving other people a chance to be profiled and to hone their skills. I mean, I've been only at this now myself for 10 months, and I've been in a number of films in which I look at as training. Okay, here's my chance to take a character, build a character, present it. Stakes aren't too high because I'm not making $2 million. It's not a $50-100 million budget movie. It's a chance to kind of express and try some different things. And that I see that a lot of that in your work.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, I encourage people not to be perfectionist, and to just keep working, keep churning things out. Everything is an opportunity to learn and experience something and add it to your tool belt.
Speaking of gaining some of those tools, how do people get access to the books? And by the way, I don't know how you're writing these books so fast. I have a stack of books I've been working on for years, and you're like cranking them out. And here's the next one. You're putting samples up online for us to see the process, which is also really cool. Where can we get your books and find out more about some of your online classes?
Yeah, well, the books are all available on Amazon. As of now, we've been self-publishing them. I'm actually about to self-publish a book by my mentor, Gus Edwards, the person that I mentioned that I started my company with. So they're all on there. You can search my name, Travis Mills. They should pop up. I published something that I thought was exciting, is the idea of publishing a script as a book with my Swamp Fox Brigade script, because so many of these just sit on a shelf. And I'm like, let's get them out there. Let's get them read. There's an entertainment value that's potentially there in reading scripts. So you can find them there. And then, all of my classes are available through the Travis Mills Filmmaker and Actor page on Facebook. And I also use Instagram very actively, Travis Mills Filmmaker on there. So just look me up and find me there, and send me a message. I'm always open to hearing from people.
What is as we get towards the end here, what is your favorite part about all this? Can you pin it down to sort of what brings you the most satisfaction and rewarding for you?
Ooh, well, I love being on set. I do really love that intense creative process of being on set. It's almost like being in the trenches. You're there, you're fighting, you're on the, you're on the field playing the game, and you're in the mix, and you're not overthinking anything because you're just so in it. So I love that process. I love directing. I'm starting to love acting more. Just as something that I really started to experiment more in the 12 Westerns, playing different character roles. So it's hard to pick specifically, but for me, it's all about the work. It's not about the premieres, the screenings, the awards. It's just all about the work itself is what I love. I would have been great in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s working in the Hollywood system. I would, just give me a job. I'll do it. I don't care. I don't care about Final Cut or any of those things. I just want to work. So.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that pulls you and I back to the Western genre too, because it has that deep roots of all that. And I have to point out a moment, and maybe I'm just guessing here because we are just getting to know each other. But I think a key moment for you probably was doing the silent film with your dog and longtime partner. There's something magical when you watch that. Before I even knew anything about you and about the dog, of course, the relationship, you captured somehow in a silent film and then held the imagination. I was watching in the theater as people were watching that, and they were just glued to this interaction, this relationship between man and dog as portrayed in almost a comical way in a silent film. What did that mean to you to be able to produce that?
Well, it was super important. You're talking about the adventures of Bandit and Wild West. So a couple things. One, I knew getting into the 12 Westerns that there would be a point where I might have to make a film for very, very little. And I actually made that movie for my stimulus check, right? In April of 2020. And I also knew that Bandit, my dog, my longtime partner, was getting towards the end. And I'm a big believer that, movies preserve our friendships and the memories of people. And that's a very important aspect of filming. William Hurt just died, and I'm watching William Hurt movies. He lives on forever in the films. So to preserve our friendship on screen was just kind of cool. It was just like a love letter to him and what we've been through together.
Yeah, we'll try to put a clip of that on our Facebook page, linking to yours as well, because
Sure.
I think it's one of those magical moments. It sounds simple enough, but I think it's a magical moment, and it's what filmmaking is all about. It's about telling stories, about touching people's lives and making a connection in some way. And you are an expert at that. And I can't wait to see what you do. What you've already done is exceptional. But as you continue to learn and push yourself, I really want to see what the future holds for you. And I'm sure you're kind of curious too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's definitely what they call it, the undiscovered country, right? There's a new frontier out there. Not quite sure what direction my career is going to take, but it's exciting. We'll see.
Great. And I hope to see you out there on one of those sets one of these days. That'd be kind of cool too.
Absolutely. We'll make it happen, Gary.
Sounds good. Travis, thank you so much for your time. And thank you for what you're doing, because it's so important, right, for the quieter voices to be able to take their talents and skills, and you're sharing them with so many other people too. So hats off to you for you and your work and what you're doing to make the industry a little more accessible and a little more meaningful for so many people.
Thank you, sir. That's the goal. It's an honor to be on your show.
Thanks, Travis. Find more Travis Mills on our Facebook page. See his movies on Tubi and other streaming platforms right now. And if you like this story, please subscribe and share with a friend. We have more stories of people using their talents in entertainment to go after their dreams. Check out Diego Rea, the plumber who performed his music on the international stage. And many more like it on our YouTube channel too. YouTube with Gary Metivier and the Heart of the Story with Gary Metivier podcast. Thanks to Peterson Plumbing and Heating and Morrison Community Hospital for supporting stories like these.